Greetings and welcome to our session on the future of democracy for the Denver Democracy Summit. I'm Naazneen Barma, Director of the Scrivener Institute of Public Policy at the Korbel School, and I'm joined for this session by Colorado Governor Jared Polis. Thank you so much for being here, Governor.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Naazneen.
Governor, Colorado is often referred to as a purple state. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've learned about bipartisanship by leading and governing in a state with an electorate that's divided among liberals, conservatives, and independents?
Firstly, the unaffiliated voters are the largest voter group we have. And I think most unaffiliated voters, and frankly, many Republicans and Democrats, they care more about issues than they care about party or partisan politics. And so, I've always been clear why I ran for governor, what I want to do, expanding early childhood education, renewable energy, saving people money on healthcare. And we do, work with anybody on any side to get that done. And many of I think 95% of the bills that came out of our state legislature last session were bipartisan. And there's a lack of trust in many of our institutions. And that's not just government, it's also the media, it's many others. But I think by delivering results that help improve people's lives, we can restore that trust and really make sure that state government, regardless of party, serves the people of our state.
Following up on that question, Governor, I'm interested to ask you what you think, what steps a state like Colorado can take to promote and protect democracy and instill democratic values among citizens.
Well, on the actual mechanics of voting, we're pretty good. So that's a great, exciting thing. We have great enfranchisement laws and registration, motor vehicle registration, pre-registration. We have electoral, but you can vote. Most people vote by mail, but you don't have to. You can actually go in not only on election day, but on early voting. So the mechanics of it are great, but I think it goes more to the trust in the institution themselves. I think we've learned this last year that we cannot take our democratic republic for granted. We have to continue in every generation to renew the values of democracy. And I think it's important to show that we meet people's needs and are responsive, and not only are the only legitimate form of government, a concept that dates back to the early theorists of liberal democracy. The only just government is one with the consent of the governed, but also an efficient one in delivering results for people, because rather tragically, at the end of the day, there's a constituency that cares about results over legitimacy. We have to show that we can deliver on both.
Governor, you mentioned Colorado's mail-in voting system, which has been in place, of course, since 2013 and is considered extremely secure. But in the 2020 presidential election, as we just saw, we heard many unfounded concerns that more mail-in voting across the country as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic would lead to fraud. And this speaks to your point that you just made about legitimacy. What does this controversy reveal about voting rights in the state of American democracy today?
Well, it's interesting because mail-in voting was never a partisan issue till President Trump made it one. It's been supported by Democrats and Republicans in Colorado. Republicans and Democrats have won by it. In fact, one of the reasons that President Trump lost the election is he told his supporters not to vote via mail, which suppressed Republican turnout. Whether it cost them the election or not, I mean, Biden won by such a large margin, but certainly Trump would have gotten 1 million or 2 million more votes, probably some more votes, had he not actively told his own voters not to vote. So hopefully we can move past that here. I mean, in Colorado, we kind of looked in bewilderment at the rest of the country saying, what are you talking about? We've been, I'm 45 and I think I've been voting by mail since I can remember. I mean, maybe when I was 18 or 20, I voted once or twice in a precinct polling place, but my whole life experience is voting by mail. So it's very strange to see, and most Coloradans share that. And so it's very strange to see in these other states there, this worry about the way that we've been doing it. And it's had great results in terms of increasing voter turnout in Colorado. And for people who don't want to vote by mail, they absolutely don't have to. You can absolutely go in if you lose your ballot or you didn't get it or you just don't like the mail. You can vote another way too.
I just moved to Colorado a few months ago, and it was my first time voting by mail. It was wonderful.
What state did you move in from?
From California.
Yeah, and they've allowed it for a while, I think, too, but not Colorado. It's been the default. I mean, if you don't, unless you really try to vote some other way, it's just the default way that you did it. You do it.
As a final question, Governor Polis, it's our privilege at the Korbel School to work with students, many of whom are in the audience today, who are preparing to launch their careers in public service. What advice might you have for these students on leading lives of purpose oriented toward the civic good?
Well, I'm excited that so many of you want to make a difference for our communities, for equity, for efficiency of government. Personally, I began my own career in the private sector. I was an entrepreneur, launched several different companies, went into the public sector through education, started a charter school, was on the State Board of Education. And decided when the opportunity presented itself that I wanted to go full time into making a difference for my fellow Coloradans and fellow Americans. When I ran for United States Congress in 2008 was the election. I started in 2007, of course. And that's, what public service is all about, no matter what role you're in, is looking to serve our fellow humans, and whether it's local, state, federal, international NGOs, so many ways to do that, to make a difference. And I know that that's your motivation in going into this work. And I think it's what throughout your career, whatever form it takes, will make your work rewarding and purposeful.
Thank you so much for joining us, Governor Polis, and for those inspiring parting words. Great to be here with you.
Thank you, Naazneen.
And now for our final session of the Denver Democracy Summit, I'll pass it over to Dean Fritz Mayer and our resident artist, Cal.